Minecraft is a game known for mining ores and punching trees, but you know who hates being punched? The trees. And between you and I bet you've punched quite a few of them. Oh, and this guy? He speaks with the trees. Oh my. Hey, you. You're finally awake. It's time to get building these Treants. So to start off, we have the classic oak tree. I originally built the oak and birch Ent in my world building survival series, so the first two builds are using Lightmatica. But after building this Ent, I wanted to envision all of the Ents as different tree variants. And when I think of an oak tree, I think of a strong and sturdy oak, so we decided to make the oak Ent a little bulky with large arms and a large body. The body shape is kind of inspired by the Juggernaut from Marvel, so the Ent is severely lacking in the neck department. But to give it a little texture, we used some oak blocks, dirt, packed mud, and a splash of moss on top to give it that fuzzy feeling. And we gave the Ent a bit of motion by making it look like the Ent is mid-step with 1 foot off the ground and the arm swaying. And we also had the Ent wield a large boulder to throw at some lumberjacks. We then worked on the face, and then we bone mealed a little oak sapling on the shoulder. And this one differs slightly from my survival world one because I changed the mushroom on his shoulder to a brown mushroom cauldron. Birch trees in real life are pretty thin trunk-wise, so I wanted to make the birch Ent thin and lanky. We have old birch forests in Minecraft, so I imagined an ancient Ent that resembled an old wizard protecting the forest. We gave the birch Ent a hunchback to capture the feel of an old wizard, and ultimately we decided to make it just walk on all fours like a monkey, kind of like a spider monkey but without the tail. We mostly used birch blocks and diorite for this build, but we also gave it some patches of moss to help break up some of the white color of birch. And similar to the oak Ent, we gave it a bit of life by raising one arm up as if it were in the middle of casting a wood spell. And for the head, we gave it a little stoic face with a diorite mustache and a birch leaf beard. Just put a hat on him and you can call him Gandalf. Moving on to our first build without Lightmatica, we started off with a custom tree I had made on an SMP as our base for the acacia Ent. The little flames are just a visual plugin for World Edit that the server uses, but we separated the trunk of the tree into segments and blended the parts together with diamond blocks to get the right shape. Acacia trees have these patches of leaves, so we decided to use those patches as indicators for shoulder armor, and we used a blend of acacia blocks alongside tuff to give it some texture. On the top of the tree, it kind of looks like a samurai or ronin hat, so we decided to go all in on that and made him look kind of like a samurai warrior. And since acacia trees kind of have this tilt to it, we also gave him a little scoliosis right there as well. So this is your posture check moment. For our dark oak Ent, we had a little trouble at the beginning finding a shape, but we're using the Archeon plugin and using the spike command to get the shape of the body. Originally, I thought maybe the dark oak Ent would just be a larger version of the oak Ent, but I wanted to spice it up a bit. When I think of the dark oak forest, I think of some haunted woods with dead trees. So we pivoted towards a dead tree look. We made the dark oak Ent walk on all fours as well, giving it large arms and small legs like a gorilla who skipped leg day. And we also hollowed out the body and gave the head some jagged edges to indicate the dead snap tree look. The face itself here is inspired by Treza from Hermitcraft. I think the heath helps make it look a little spookier, befitting the dark forest. And we added some patches of stripped logs and moss to indicate decay, and also added some signature dark oak forest mushrooms growing all over the tree. I wasn't too sure about the mushroom placement, so I was kind of fiddling around with that a lot. But I think it turned out okay. For the spruce Ent, we start off with an Archeon spike brush, and for the spruce Ent, I wanted to make it tall and lanky, similar to the Enderman. And unlike the other Ents so far, the spruce Ent pretty much stands straight up, similar to an actual spruce tree. But here we use diamond blocks once again to help figure out the actual shape before coloring it. And I wanted to make this one pretty stoic, so we're not really adding any movement to it. It'll kind of just stand there, menacingly. We then attempted to make a face, and I think it ended up looking really derpy, but after some tweaking of the proportions, I think it looks pretty good. The spruce Ent is most inspired by the Lord of the Rings most popular Ent, Treebeard or Fangorn, so we're going to give him an epic beard. The beard is meant to resemble the arrow-like pines of a spruce tree. We then added some extra details to the face, which I personally really like. We added some wispy eyebrows to give him the old, withered look, and we also added some branches hanging off his head. Next up is the Jungle Ent. For the Jungle Ent, I definitely wanted to go on a much larger scale. I had spent quite some time looking up trees found in the jungle, and this one is very loosely inspired by the kapok tree. It's this behemoth tree that towers over everything else in the jungle. I made a very rough body shape, and then we moved on to the canopy by doing a sphere command and cutting it in half. We then replaced the blocks with 80% air and the rest with leaves. Honestly, I had a really hard time with this one because I've never really built trees, especially massive ones, and trying to get this canopy to look more organic was kind of tough for me. We then moved on and made a pretty rough draft for the face, and then used some emerald blocks to help make the branches sticking out of the head and connecting those branches to the canopy up above. Throughout this time lapse, you probably saw leaves constantly disappearing as I set them down. And so a pro tip is that if you're in World Edit, you need to make the leaves persistent, otherwise they'll keep disappearing on you like they did to me. I then messed around with the face some more and gave it this little beard and goatee looking thing. Honestly, kind of looks like you could catch a beer with this guy. Since this Ent was so large, we decided to use a gradient brush of muddy mangrove roots, junglewood, and packed mud. Honestly, I wasn't really sold on the packed mud being up there, but I had already spent so much time on this big boy that I honestly really wanted to just get him done. But we added some sporadic vines hanging off his head for that jungle look, and then worked on some of the wiry fingers for his giant hands and just called it good. For the cherry Ent, we initially tried to make it all cute looking since it's pink, but you'll see that I failed quite horribly at the end here. But we made a slanted trunk and added some nether brick fences for some branches. And looking back at this replay, the leaves are definitely looking pretty janky, and I probably put a little too much pink wool in it. For this Ent though, we used a blend of cherry blocks, deep slate, and blackstone to add variation to the tree. And we gave the cherry Ent some tiny legs like that of the creepers, so the Ent will be kind of shuffling everywhere it goes. We also made a horrifying face with a large nose and gave it the most pitiful hands you'll ever see. It honestly looks like a jester, but it looks so ugly that I kind of love it. I mean, just look at how derpy it is. Moving on to the mangrove Ent, we started off with a similar shape to the oak Ent, this kind of upside down egg shape. The original inspiration was the swamp monster from Avatar: The Last Airbender, but because it's a mangrove tree, I thought it'd be cool to add spider-like legs to the Ent that mimic the root-like structures of a mangrove tree. We then painted the build with mangrove blocks and netherrack, and I spent a lot of time messing around with the face here. I feel like a lot of the faces have been pretty similar for all of the Ents, so I spent some time swapping out different wood types for the face mask, and ultimately settled on acacia. We then overlaid some mangrove leaves and moss to help make the top feel a little more fuzzy. And at the end, I feel like it looks kind of like some type of crab almost, with these pincer style arms and multiple legs. And last but not least, we have the azalea tree. I wasn't planning on making an azalea ent because it's kind of just an oak tree variant, but I had a cute idea for it, so why not? We started off by using the top of a bonsai tree I have in my creative world, and then we created 2 stubby legs using the Archeon spike command. I wanted to make the azalea ent a cute and stubby one, so we made a very simple face on it and gave it no arms. For the stump, we used stripped dark oak and mangrove wood to get the nice brownish red color, and we then added some flowering azalea leaves on top and some moss to help fluff up the treetop. And there we have the cutest ent of them all. And there we have some tree ents, one for each overworld tree type. Maybe in the future I can play around with mushroom people and make some variants with the various nether trees and all that. But I think I'll try to scatter some of these around in my survival world building project. But let me know what you like the most in these comments down below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye for now.